Let's now go to Pakistan, Lahore, Pakistan, to speak to Hamid Khan Almashriqi. I hope I pronounced that. Hamid, thanks for joining us here on Anews. Now, this is really devastating news that we've been hearing out of India. Islamophobia seems to be on the rise. It's not the first time we've heard such a story coming out of India. What's particularly gone on in this region? Has there been fighting amongst students? Is that how it's erupted?
Thank you very much, Murad. Actually, these incidents or incidents like that are everyday happening thing in India nowadays because of the ruling party of BJP, who's actually driven by an extremist terrorist group, RSS. And everybody knows that what is RSS ideology, where they have no acceptance for any religion or anybody except Hindus. And this has caused a lot of trouble and the problem in where 240 million Muslims are living and over 300 plus millions are minorities. And I would say that this current BJP government have tarnished its own constitution by allowing these kinds of groups to harass, to do the mob lynching and to do the forcefully cutting the beards of the Muslims. There are so many incidents happening every day in India, Murad, that now the Amnesty International and other human rights organizations are clearly saying that minorities are in deep trouble in India because the main reason is when the state is supporting the anti-Islam and Islamophobic acts. This is the most concerned thing. When it is not supported by the government or there is any kind of reaction or actions taken by the government, this will give a hope to the minorities that the state is behind them. But unfortunately, people have nowhere to go and no place to look into when the constitution is giving them the freedom of practice of their religion. But this government, this Modi government have changed the entire fabric of the society, and the society has turned into two types of India. One is run by the extremist Hindus and second is all the minorities. All the minorities are considered same, but especially they are targeting Muslims because this is the biggest minority, 240 million Muslims. And then, they are targeting they having being beards, they are targeting their hijabs, they are targeting their Muslim, prayer, Jummah prayer practices. They have stopped in many states. And now this extreme Islamophobia has turned India into a very dangerous state and country where the people cannot practice their basic human rights, Murad.
It's sad and very disappointing to hear, but Narendra Modi, is this something that his government has just started implementing? I mean, some 5-10 years ago, not 5-10, maybe 3 years ago, we didn't really hear much about this. We thought India was a quiet place. We didn't hear anything. People just got on. Some 1.3 billion people live there. Is it Modi trying to push for a new election, or is he trying to rally up some sort of support? Or, I mean, what's the anger behind it?
There are two things. We have to understand the ideology behind Modi's coming into power. Whether he was considered as the butcher of Gujarat, where there was massacre when he was a chief minister of Gujarat. So if you look into the history, he won the election on the basis of racism against Muslims. So he has to carry on that thing. On the other hand, if you look into the government, and if you look into interior minister, if you look into the chief minister, they all are extremist Hindus, where we have seen just few weeks back, there was a BJP leaders gathering, and they were clearly calling for the genocides of over 2 million Muslims so that they can force the rest of the Muslims in India to become Hindus. So this kind of ideology has never been condemned by the state or by the ministers or by the prime minister. This is more concerning. When there is no condemnation, it means it is an encouragement by the government for these people who wants to turn a state into a civil war situation. On the other hand, Murad, if you look into the entire situation, yes, They use anti-Islamic, sentiments to win the elections. And there are elections coming in 3-4 states, in Punjab, Haryana, and other states. But the problem is this: this is not only an election stunt; it is the ideology and the policy of the current BJP government. And I'm afraid to tell you that even in coming elections after 2 years, there will be somebody from BJP in power, and they will carry on like this. So this is the time when human rights organizations has to come forward, when the Europe and Western world, including America, has to take some part in it, and let the Indian government know that now this is the 22nd century. They cannot rule the people like that. They cannot victimize the minorities, whether it is Sikh minorities, whether it is Muslim minorities, whether they did not let the Christians celebrate their Christmas this year properly. So there is a very dangerous situation because of the oppression by this Indian government. And I think it is going to be very serious unless it is not being taken seriously by the rest of the world.
Well, let's talk about that for a quick second. I know you're a busy man and I appreciate your time, but
No, I'm not.
At the end of the day, India, huge economy, probably the USA look at India to combat China. Is that why they're perhaps turning a blind eye on what's going on in India? But what about the neighboring countries, Pakistan, Kashmir as well? We have a lot of Muslims there. I mean, are the neighboring countries turning a blind eye? Human rights, you said, are they not getting involved? Is that the problem?
Murad, you actually hit the nail, that because America look into India as the competitor of China to combat or to encounter China's strengthening economy and military in the region. So in America is encouraging India one way or the other, and this is the reason they've turned a blind eye into it. But it is against all the human rights, all the basic norms of the society. Yes, you're right that neighboring countries are very much concerned, and I will tell you that India is the only country who has a very bad relation with its all neighbors. Currently, India is in a standoff situation with China on Ladakh and other regions. On their western border, Pakistan and India's situation, whole world knows they are always on a brink of a war. Then they are not having a good relations with Bangladesh. They are not having good relations with Bhutan and Nepal because they are keep interfering in their internal affairs. They are keep encroaching in their territories. So if India wants to live peacefully in the region, India has to look into its foreign policy, and all the neighboring countries are very much concerned. Even India-Russia relations are not as warm as it was used to be at the Cold War time because of India's policy, because of India's internal situation, and India's foreign policy is too much driven by Americans, too much driven by the capitalists, and too much driven by the money. And if I tell you, this latest Indian government is making the killer of Gandhi, a father of the nation, Mr. Godse, they are making him hero who was considered as a terrorist for the 70 years. But because he belonged to the same party, RSS, who is in a power right now, they are making Godse as the hero in comparison to the father of the nation, Mr. Gandhi. And this has raised a concern in the intellectuals of India as well. But when we talk about the situation between neighbors, India has not good relations with neighbors, and no one else to blame but India itself, India's atrocities, India's human rights violations, and India's aims to have conflicts with all the neighbors.
Well, let's hope that the world wakes up to what's going on there,
Yes.
and these minorities, regardless of what their religion, color, or creed, can do what they want to do. Hamid, always a pleasure. Good to see you, sir. Take care. Stay safe. We'll speak again soon, no doubt.